Ladies and gentlemen, we are 5 minutes from celebrating the class of 2022. Please make your way to the family boxes on the field and take this opportunity to silence your cellular telephones and electronic devices. Thank you very much. Friends and family of the class of 2022, we are 1 minute from the beginning of our program. Please take your seats. Join us in celebrating the class as they process.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Poly Class of 2022. Hanukkah, Basso, please join me.
Hi everyone, my name is Mas Ortega.
And my name is Annika Nelson. As members of the Upper School Student Community Engagement Council, we are here to share the land acknowledgement we have spent the last few years bringing to the Poly community.
A land acknowledgement is a formal statement and recognizes and respects Indigenous peoples as the traditional stewards of this land. It is a simple yet powerful action item that takes the first steps towards healing and the justice of Indigenous people.
The land acknowledgement is as follows. We are on Tongva land. We recognize the Tongva people's resistance against displacement, erasure, and oppression by European colonial settlers.
Members of the Tongva tribe are still here, those who never left and those who have returned, and we recognize them as the past, present, and future stewards of this land. As guests on these lands, we owe our commitment to caring for the environment we now share and upholding the Indigenous legacy for the future generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to all, I'm sorry, you can all sit down. We'll get you chairs. Welcome to all of you here in live streaming from around the world. If you're watching me to today's ceremony on computer or phone, let me share what it looks like on the storied Badcock Field. Beside me is the fabulous class of 2022. Facing south, looking across Cornell, back to the upper school campus, in front of us is a chessboard of 100 family boxes with 8 chairs filled with grandparents, parents, siblings, and friends looking up to the San Gabriel Mountains behind me. Along the edges and behind them are members of our faculty, staff, board of trustees, and other Poly community members. It's an absolutely stunning and memorable sight. As I noted last year, we can celebrate the class of 2022 because of the heroic acts of doctors and nurses and lab technicians, the brilliance and tenacity of scientists and teachers, and the selflessness of the frontline workers, and with the generosity and compassion of too many to name. Without their collective efforts today, this celebration would not be possible. So please join me in thanking them. In particular, thanks to members of the Poly community who played an outsized role in making this happen. Lisa Wu, Marcy Quintney, Keith Hysoon, Jose Melgoza, Mark Rassick, Sarah Leroy, Tiffany LaBarbara Palmer, our operations crew, Gary Almonte, Ruben Almonte, Oscar Cervantes, Ruby Chavarria, Cesar Angel, David Rosales, Adrian Sanchez, and Gary Wirt, who made this ceremony possible. Please thank them. I'd also like now to pause for a moment of silence. I'm sure for many of us, there are people we wish could be here. I also would like to pause for a moment of silence for the over 1 million people who have died from the coronavirus, for our community suffering from the impact of racial and gun violence, and Maggie McGee, who's a Poly alum of 2017, who passed away tragically this past weekend. Thank you. Special congratulations are due to Liam Yen and Eddie Conjoyan, who received their Eagle Awards tomorrow at Poly's Troop 5's Court of Honor, and to Trevor Shim, Ekenogobu, and Andre Thien, who are also represented by other area troops. And to Eddie, for his appointment. Where's Eddie? For Eddie, for his appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy, class of 2022. As you can imagine, As you can imagine, the screening process for the Academy is extraordinarily rigorous. They're seeking individuals, those who have demonstrated leadership potential and a willingness to accept responsibility, as well as an outstanding academic credentials, who will uphold the Academy's mission. The mission is to develop midshipmen morally, mentally, physically, and to imbue in them with the highest ideals of duty, honor, and loyalty in order to graduate leaders who are dedicated to a career of naval service and have potential for future development in mind and character to assume the highest responsibilities of command, citizen, and government. Congratulations, Eddie. Now, if you've never been to a poly graduation, it's a little different than many others. We've selected 8 students randomly. Most educational institutions have ceremonies or graduations culminating in extraordinary teaching, rigorous learning, and exceptional growth. At Poly, we are no different about what graduation celebrates, and we've added a unique twist to the voices, to the voices you will hear when our seniors, 8 of them chosen randomly from the class, take to the podium to capture what they have learned and see ahead. Like the very best traditions, and their words and lessons are timeless, and we have a tapestry that displays the health and vividness of our mission. So we say goodbye today by hearing what our students have learned to value, embrace, critique, and celebrate. The institution will once again be defined and reaffirmed for generations to follow. I've been thinking longer than usual about what I want to say to our graduates this evening. At first, it seemed important to stay away from telling you that how courageous and resilient you've been over the last 3 years. You've heard that plenty of times, and my guess is it may start to ring hollow. However, I do think these words are worth repeating. Most of your high school experience has been defined by the pandemic and racial reckoning. These seminal years have challenged you about what it means to be part of a community. What does it mean to belong? What's the correct balance between selfish and selfless acts? Several weeks ago, Mr. Balgoza, ever the historian, likened these past years to the meteoric shift between the pre-industrial age and the modern city. In March of 2020, we retreated to small, insular, family-based communities, isolated by design and practice, homeschooled and profoundly self-sufficient, much like the farms where my great-grandparents migrated to in Wisconsin. And then, without much warning and with a fair amount of trepidation, we returned to the vibrancy of a diverse community, hungering for connection, but unpracticed in the habits that defined our resilience to each other. It wasn't easy. Although most of us put on a brave face outwardly, we struggled to re-engage and move forward. And yet we did. You did, magnificently. Throughout the fall and winter months, your leadership in the classrooms, on stage, and the playing fields allowed us to emerge tentatively at first, and then with an unapologetic rush forward. Who can forget the football game at the Coliseum and the outdoor theatrical, vocal, and dance productions on your senior patio, which you generously donated? As some semblance of normalcy returned, so did the energy here. But in many ways, the fanfare of these games or shows didn't matter. Being together did, and movingly so. Throughout, you re-engaged with your classmates and teachers, demonstrated the intellectual curiosity that makes this a thrilling community to be part of, and display the empathy that holds us close. And after so much time turning inward, you joined the broader community through community engagement and global initiatives projects to affirm your place in the community and making the world better. Importantly, you demanded the community live up to our commitment to anti-racism, and you rightly called us out when we fell short. It wasn't easy, and it shouldn't have been. My wish is that you learn that there's nothing particularly heroic about doing alone, and that hearing your own voice or the ones that echo your perspective, only your perspective, will undermine your growth, and then those of the others around you. Excellence demands a collective endeavor that moves beyond a singular actor, and we won't continue to inspire a generation of intellectual leaders or honor the promise of our mission to develop personal responsibility and service to others if we embrace the concept of success or righteousness as a zero-sum game. Please don't take the privilege you've had being granted for being here. Kennedy Odode, the author of Find Me Unafraid, challenged all of us during a visit to acknowledge the privilege we have as members of the poly community. He encouraged us all to stop apologizing or feeling guilty about it and do something good with the advantage it has given us. As you move to your next adventure, think about all that you have accomplished as an individual and classes. Think about how you and your classmates have changed poly and the community around us. Think about how you celebrated and held each other's close when things didn't work out the way you had hoped. Think about how you've grown, at times uncomfortably, as a result of the impact of various backgrounds and perspectives and truths of your classmates. Through it all, You learn to consider possibilities, to pay attention when your worldview is challenged. You have taught and inspired us with your generosity of spirit, fierce loyalty to friends, and a deep commitment to what you believe. You are ready to meet the challenges ahead of you, and you are prepared to honor the responsibility that comes with your diploma today. We will miss you. Congratulations, and thank you. Now go change the world. McKenna, you're up.
When put in a difficult situation, what do you do? The clouds outside grew still as I pondered this question. It had already been weeks into junior year, and the pandemic continued to rage on. School had changed. Now that everything was online, there wasn't a patio to play ping pong or a library to meet up with others during free periods. While classes were organized into synchronous and asynchronous sessions, it was hard to tell the two apart. I mean, seriously, why even bother making breakout rooms when your class had already been broken up into digital boxes, strung alongside one another like tiles on a mosaic? I left my bedroom to turn on the heater and finish up making my green tea. Despite having less than 10 minutes left until my next class, I let the tea cool and took short sips as needed. Often, I would etch out little pockets in my day to simply just exist. My disposition may have seemed carefree, but I can assure you that I kept the severity of my circumstances at the forefront of my mind. I learned that strength didn't entail running away from my problems, but rather confronting them. In my case, my problems and situation were one and the same: the isolation, academic pressure, that future ahead of me, the past I once longed for. They had all culminated into what I can only describe as an environment of sorts, one that was animated by my thoughts, hopes, fears, and aspirations. What is it that people see in a situation to make such firm decisions? Much of my confidence in high school stemmed from my ability to prepare extensively for something. It was one of the few reasons why I took opponents head-on during policy debate tournaments. Sure, everything about those rounds was fast-paced and nuanced, but it didn't matter, as I had already pondered many of the questions, lending me the tools necessary to dismantle each argument one by one. Even if someone time traveled from 2020 to tell my sophomore self that there was to be a pandemic and a lockdown and all the worst things imaginable just around the corner, I wouldn't have come close in priming myself for what was to come. Maybe it's okay to not know what to do or how to act at first. Perhaps I just need to repurpose my tools and be more appreciative of what I can do and what I can control. Sure, our class was separated, each of us facing our own predicaments like a bunch of people running around in a labyrinth. But above all that lies something that connects us all, something that provides just a bit of explanation to our choices and a tinge of truth to our characters. It was our culture, the thing that continues to reflect our thoughts and intentions, spoken and unspoken. The culture we carry at Poly has no barriers. It doesn't matter where we are or how old we get. It will continue to shape our future selves alongside our understanding of the Poly experience in the years to come. Our culture continues to unravel, even on this eventful day. I find bits and pieces of it driving our cheers during sports games, assuaging our stress during exam weeks, and bringing us together during times of hardship. These cultural manifestations give us the potential to adapt to our situations and grow anew. They're kind of like little droplets of rain. Only when we smear the wet tips of our fingers and look up at the sky do we get a sense of self. So take the time to reflect on your poly experience. You don't really need to know what you're doing, so long as you have a sense of where you're going and why you'd even move to begin with. Thank you. For our next speaker, we have Keo Schmoke.
I'd like to open with a quote. "A true artist is not one who is inspired, but one who inspires others." Salvador Dali. Throughout my poly experience, I have honestly never been one for writing or STEM subjects. I think most of my peers would say they fall into one or maybe both of those two categories in terms of the type of student that they are. Instead, during my time here, I've developed a passion for art, which I've been able to grow and foster within this community. I originally became infatuated with art when I met Miss Sheena Holm in the 6th grade. She taught me the basics of art and guided my stylistic journey in many ways. Then when I entered high school, I had the pleasure of meeting the amazing Arnor Bievelt, who I've worked with for several years now. And this year, I got the chance to work with Adam Feldmuth as well. These teachers have guided my journey throughout the art world, through AP art, and through my knowledge of how to create art. During my formative years, back in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I began to take a liking to art. And that liking grew as I created simple and silly comics and drawings with my friends like Jason, Brandon, and Alejandro. Then, as I moved into middle school, Sheena's no-nonsense attitude and outgoing personality lured me into learning more about technique. She pushed me and other students who were willing to learn into a more independent direction. During this time, she encouraged me to branch out and draw people in depth and interest rather than two-dimensional characters from my 5th grade days. In 9th grade, in Mr. Schaefer's art history class, I took a greater interest in painting and in the deep history and evolution within the art world. Alongside that class, I also took a digital art class with Sheena and was introduced to my new favorite medium, pirated Photoshop. In these classes, I studied material that genuinely interested me and bonded with long-term friends such as Fran, Liam, and Andres. Together, we built a community of student artists that became a meaningful part of my poly high school experience. Now going back to the original Dali quote, I fully understand why a true artist is not one who is inspired, but one who inspires others. And since my wonderful teachers and peers have been the artists who have inspired me throughout my poly career, I hope that this speech is a way to give back a little of what I've gained from them over these past few years. From visual arts to performing arts, my passion has always been encouraged from the art community at Poly, and as I head off to an art college next fall, I know that I genuinely would not trade this experience for any other. Thank you. I would now like to welcome Lily Keating to the stage. Or podium, whatever it is.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a lifer at Poly, and as many of you know, I'm a musician who specifically studies vocal performance. I have been studying music since I was in kindergarten. I was an avid member of the lower and middle school choirs here at Poly, always eager to be a part of any group performance. Outside of school, I have been a member of the Los Angeles Children's Chorus and have been a part of every choir they have offered me. However, as many of you do not know, I have been studying opera since 9th grade. I've secretly been singing Fauré, Schubert, and Puccini's music twice a week for the past 4 years. And recently, I completed my studies at the Pasadena Conservatory of Music with the senior recital last month. For the past 4 years, I have felt like I've been living a double life, one competitive academic life at Poly and a passionate study of music outside of school. What I think is really unique about Poly students is that we are insanely driven and we cannot stop with whatever we do. Those I know who live the same double life in and outside of school, from being a part of the national debate team to studying the art of classical guitar and to ranking 4th in the entire world for a video game called Clash Royale, these accomplishments are integral to who we are as a class, as students, and as individual people. Some may see this struggle as overwhelming and an attempt to be overachieving, but speaking on behalf of the students who are sitting behind me today and relate to this life, the challenge keeps us driven. We often underestimate the abilities that we have as students in a competitive academic environment, but we must admit we wouldn't be where we are today without it. The same goes for whatever extracurriculars we do outside of school. The same competitive mindset pushes us to be the best at what we do. But for those like me, we have a tendency to keep the outside and inside school life separate. As someone who refused to sing opera in front of my peers until recently, I would have to say my biggest regret is refusing to merge my two worlds together. Looking back at my time at Poly, I see spots where I could have incorporated my music into my studies with a bit more confidence, or even just told my peers what I was working so hard for once the school day ended. But my time at Poly has ended, and it leaves me more motivated than ever to be as expressive, experimental, and driven as I step foot into the next chapter of my life. To my classmates who have an extracurricular that they spend hours focusing on outside of school but are scared to reveal themselves to their peers around them, just know that I recognize your effort that you're putting into your work. And if I had a piece of advice to share with those in the grades below me or to my peers on the stage as the page begins to turn, don't be afraid to merge your two worlds together. Thank you. And now I have the absolute pleasure to introduce Nathan Quinones.
Hello, everybody. As Lily so wonderfully introduced me, I am Nathan Quinones. Now, I have had a wonderful time during my 4 years at Poly. My first year at Poly was in the 9th grade, and I was nervous to enter a new school, though I soon realized that I need not be nervous, for my classmates were all incredibly awesome, funny, and unique people. Truly, it is the friends that I shared my time here at Poly with who really made the experience something special. Whilst I have some truly special memories with everyone, I would like to recollect on an experience I had with my great friends Grayson, Carmela, Charlotte, Bianca, and Rojan when we took a camping trip to Joshua Tree. The area was unfamiliar to me, and I completely underestimated the severity of the weather. Although I was warned by Rojan multiple times, I ended up packing very light for the trip. How cold could it really be? Well, it was extremely cold. My one sweatshirt and single pair of jeans was not enough to prevent the goosebumps. I retreated to my tent to try and sleep until it was warm again, though I soon discovered that I was far too tall to fit in the very short sleeping bag I had bought. As everyone else fell asleep rather quickly in their warm, long underwear and military-grade sleeping bags, I sat alone in my tent for hours with only the sound of my constant chattering teeth. Fearful that I might freeze to death sitting alone in my little tent, I decided to take a walk alone through the Joshua Tree Desert, in order to keep my blood flowing, of course. I roamed the desert for 4 hours before the rising sun alerted me of my friend's impending awakening. When I got back to camp and told them all about the horrors I had experienced through the night, I got a few laughs and a few I told you so's, though I was just glad to be back with my friends. If this story is not evidence enough, I find that whenever I travel to new places, I never feel as content as I do when I'm here at home. In a few months' time, all us seniors will find ourselves discovering our new homes, though Pasadena will always be my first home, and I will truly miss the people, families, and memories that I have made here. I would like to end my speech with a poem I wrote in my poetry class about leaving behind something that feels like home. Dear Dina, I find peace when I'm with you. There is no other I'd rather spend my time with. I've known you my entire life. You have witnessed my highest highs and my lowest lows. To say that I love you would be an understatement. Bright green sundress, lots of curves, and hair black as the pavement. Rosy perfume with piercing blue eyes like a glistening lake. Sometimes you brighten up my day, others you rain on my parade. I spend all day laying under your palms. We've spent what feels like every day together, though I soon have to leave you behind. We've had a great time with each other, but our time is coming to a close. I found a new girl named Noella with whom I will spend all my time. Though we're now breaking up, I will still love you forever. I know we can still be friends, for our bond is too strong. If you haven't figured yet, this Dina who I speak of is not my girlfriend, for it's Pasadena that I love, and I'm sad to see our time end. Thank you.
yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly.
Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say.
I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. School bag in hand, she leaves home in the early morning, waving goodbye with an absent-minded smile. I watch her go with a surge of that well-known sadness, and I have to sit down for a while. What happened to the wonderful adventures? The places I had planned for us to go, slipping through my fingers all the time. And some of those we did, but most we didn't. And why, I just don't know. Slipping through my fingers all the time, I try to capture every minute, the feeling in it. Slipping through my fingers all the time. Do I really see what's in her mind? Each time I think I'm close to knowing, she keeps on growing, slipping through my fingers all the time. Sometimes I wish that I could freeze the picture and save it from the funny tricks of time, slipping through my fingers. School bag in hand, she leaves home in the early morning, waving goodbye with an absent-minded smile.
I was asked recently by a family friend if I would recommend the Poly K-12 experience, or if the school was just too small, if 13 years is too long to be with the same classmates and faculty, too long to be in the same community. Coincidentally, as my time at Poly has come to a close, I have been asking myself the same thing. If I were given the option to select my childhood experience, would I choose these people over again? Poly all over again? For me, there has been so much beauty and freedom in being the youngest in a Poly family. It is strangely comforting to know that half the teachers you meet know you already, that your reputation extends beyond the way you present yourself in your first interaction, that a positive assumption has already been made about what kind of person you are. But it also took me time to realize how subconsciously stressful it was to live up to that same expectation. As I felt myself gravitating toward a path similar to my siblings before me, I contemplated whether it would be easier to do something different, simply as a means of avoiding comparison. I mean, hell, it would be cool to be an architect, right? Or maybe a linguistics professor. I could always start my own company. And while all of those were genuine passions of mine as part of a short-lived phase or two, I kept returning to my one true love that I tried, though not that hard, to suppress, because at times I was scared of my own ambition, and far more frightened of the shadow that had been cast before me. The Poly Spring Musical was always iconic, at least for me, and those who knew me in lower school could probably confirm I spent the majority of my time on the playground bragging about how talented my older brother was in Beauty and the Beast, or Kiss Me Kate, or Sweeney Todd, which upon reflection was perhaps not quite age appropriate for second graders, despite my persistent advertising to all my friends. To put it simply, scoring a principal role in the Poly Spring Musical was ultimate celebrity status for 6-year-old Caroline. So, as you might imagine, it is really difficult reframing my perspective to look past poly performing arts to college theater and beyond, because for so long there was no beyond. It is rare that the ending of an era hits me intensely, but the closing night of my senior spring musical was one of those moments. It felt like the one thing that I have subconsciously looked forward to my whole life just passed in 2 hours and 15 minutes. I had been waiting so long to receive this ultimate validation from the poly community that I was someone who made her impact on campus. And after COVID, after 13 years of waiting, I had this really odd moment of silence where I was like, oh wow, what now? For so long, my success at Poly felt like it defined my success as a human being. It was just easier to pretend that the Poly bubble existed as my whole world. But now that we're leaving, I don't exactly know what I want to accomplish, or at what point I will pat myself on the back and say, you reached your big life goal, congrats! And while that is a giant feat to tackle, especially for a lifer like me, having gone through life measuring my accomplishments by the love I receive from people who have watched me grow up from the age of 5 has been a fascinatingly rewarding experience, and one I would never trade for anything else. So, to that one person who asked me, yes, I recommend the Poly K-12 experience, because finding a place where you run into your kindergarten teacher every other week, or where your volleyball coach remembers you from when you were 3 running around the bleachers, or where you could give a tour of all of the locations of core memories from your youth on one campus, is rare. The people at this school have raised me to be who I am, and that is not something I relish leaving. But, in the words of Stephen Sondheim, stop worrying where you're going, move on. Now, introducing the incredible Liam Yen.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah. 10 years ago, a young boy rolled around on the carpet of his classroom, not paying any mind to the teacher or his classmates around him. And 10 years ago, in the very same classroom, a mysterious man made yet another note on his notepad. Hello, my name is Liam Yen, and in 2nd grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And it was a diagnosis that, unfortunately, defined much of my time at Poly. I was first diagnosed following an evaluation and observation by a school psychologist, and while I couldn't have been told about this while I was being observed, I did eventually take notice, and I began to suspect that something was wrong with me. This was understandably not great for my developing self-image, and I felt very othered and ended up isolating myself from many of my peers. Like many of us at age 8, I had absolutely no idea who I was and identified closely with what I believed to be one of my defining characteristics, my diagnosis. So much so that I remember that my fun fact when introducing myself in 3rd grade was, "Hi, I'm Liam, and I have ADHD." During that same year, I came across a series of books that would help me start to assign a more positive relationship with my diagnosis. Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan. Now there was a hero I could get behind. Sharp, witty, and with so much heart, Percy Jackson was everything I wished I could be. And as an added bonus, his ADHD was treated as a bit of a superpower, which helped me to see my diagnosis in a more positive light. But even with some help from my hero, it wasn't until 4th or 5th grade that I felt like I was treated not as the problem child of the class, but as just another student. My teacher, Mrs. Ramirez, had such a talent for building healthy relationships with her students and addressed my outbursts and misbehaviors outside of class and privately, which made me feel understood and engaged on a very personal level. Finally, when upper school rolled around, I had the same struggles most freshmen do. It took me a while to adjust to the new workload and environment, not to mention my lacking time management skills. And despite having a number of friends and family in my corner, the competitive academic culture at Poly made me feel like everyone was miles ahead of me academically. But with teachers like Mr. Hoffman and Miss Thurlow, I was able to find my footing and started to get the hang of things in the last few months of freshman year. As high school went on, I found myself meeting new people. Many, I later learned, were neurodivergent, like me. And we got along well, grew together, and semi-frequently commiserated in the face of Poly academics. Once the pandemic threw us into isolation, I found myself more self-contained and introspective than I'd ever been. And finally, after years of having the tools and pieces I needed to succeed, something clicked for me and in my understanding of myself. Then, one December afternoon, after months of grinding away through the college process, I practically leapt out of the car and rushed to the front door, hoping, praying to find a box sealed with a red sticker. And lo and behold, there it was, right on my front porch. After weeks of waiting, I had been admitted to my dream college. In that moment, I had accomplished what I once thought was nearly impossible. But how exactly did I do it? After years of failure and frustration, I found it in myself to persevere, and with help from my friends and teachers, eventually I managed to fight my way to a place where I could succeed. Did it teach me resilience in the face of impossible odds? Yes, absolutely. But I wouldn't say that it was the best way for me to have learned those lessons. As someone who has been steeped in the Poly community for as long as I can remember, I respectfully leave with this. Poly needs to be better. I am begging you to take deliberate steps to take care of and not solve your neurodivergent students. I am begging you to take a step back from the business that is this school and listen to your neurodivergent students, your queer students, your students of color, the people who are swept aside in this community, and see how we have suffered and how many of us continue to suffer. If Poly is really about the students, please do better than you did with me. Show us. Thank you. And I have the privilege of welcoming Anna McConnell to the stage.
Sorry, let me take a moment to finish up my speech for a moment. You might be wondering why I'm writing with this comically large feather pen. This pen, or pluma de pluma in Espanol, has played a significant role in my senior year here at Poly, or, more specifically, a significant role in my Spanish Lit class. Since its humble beginnings, a few paper straws, a single knitting needle, and some tissue paper, all bound together by a ridiculous amount of tape, this pen has spread its influence far and wide, serving more than one purpose for myself and the 8 other students in the class. We've analyzed 20th century contemporary literature with this pen. We've taken notes about Sor Juana de la Cruz's feminist in her time, but not feminist in today's society poem, Hombres necios que acusáis. We've tickled Elia into waking up on a dreary Wednesday afternoon with this pen. We've harassed Eleanor by grazing the tip of her ear just light enough so that she couldn't quite tell if it was the wind or the pluma de pluma at work. But, as ridiculous as this feather pen may seem, it's symbolic of my Poly experience at large. So many of my most analytical ideas, profound insights, and deep understandings have been accompanied by something as lighthearted and wacky as this pluma de pluma. The spirit of the pluma de pluma was present when, in English class this year, my group unknowingly plagiarized the plot of Benjamin Button and a semi-original short film created to demonstrate our understanding of key themes in Alice in Wonderland. The spirit of the pluma de pluma was present in my sophomore year chemistry class when we watched Miss Barnes turn a pickle into a light bulb as we learned about ion conduction.
The spirit of the Pluma Diploma was present when I and several classmates were sent to Mr. Gray's office in 6th grade history class when Miss Ward adopted the legalist doctrine as we explored ancient Chinese philosophies. Throughout my 6 years at Poly, I've been taught to approach my studies with a kind of whimsy and enthusiasm that has instilled in me a lifelong joy of learning. This, above all, is what I'm most grateful for. And as we all go our separate ways, I hope we can all think of a moment at Poly where we sense the spirit of the Pluma Diploma, a moment where we felt a passion for and a love of learning, because I know I have. Thank you. Now it is my great honor to introduce my esteemed colleague and friend, Carmela Vargas van Bremen. Dear Mama and Papa, like the delicious homemade meals that you cook every week, you made our home from scratch. You took care of each ingredient, carefully crafting the perfect childhood for me and for Maje in a place that was foreign to you. You brought us to places like the park in Newport, the music together classes, and our favorite beaches. Through the talks we had around the dinner table, you allowed me to express myself. You never took judgment and have always wanted the best for me. You found the perfect bubble for us, 4,149 miles away from your home, Costa Rica. I genuinely don't know how you did it. You let go of your comfortability and your stability, yet you didn't let go of your values. You never let me or Maje feel the hardships you endured through trying to integrate our family into a new place. You showed me what love feels like and what a marriage should look like. I loved watching you dance together in the living room and die with laughter on the car rides to the beach at 6 a.m., even though I made it seem like I was pissed to be woken up so early. Thank you for bringing me to Poly. I know I acted like a brat when we moved from Rhode Island to California, and I'm sorry for getting so angry at you. I was angry because I thought I wouldn't find a community like the one in Rhode Island, but I was quite wrong. I owe it to you for introducing me to a place with people who have supported me and provided me with endless opportunities. You brought me to a place that strengthened my ability to express myself, both verbally and artistically, and that encouraged me to lead a salsa workshop for the community, a skill that you taught me to enjoy. I was too naive at the time to realize that moving to Poly would be the best decision. Poly has given me the space to discover who I am, to form my own opinions, and to learn in a nurturing environment. The foundation you gifted me gave me the tools to navigate high school and all its obstacles. It finally dawned on me that I'm soon going to part from the home I've occupied for a significant portion of my life. I've been taking time looking at my school, its beauty and all it's given me, and I wish I had savored it more. I'm excited and ready for the journey that lies ahead of me, but I wish I had listened when you would tell me to savor my childhood, when I would say I wanted to be 18. I didn't think about the fact that being 18 meant leaving you and the place I call home. As I move on to college and beyond, I will take with me the values you instilled in me and the unconditional love you show me. I hope I've made you proud and that leaving your home was worth it. Los quiero, Carmela.
Before I begin with the presentation of the class, let us please take a moment to give a big round of applause to all of our remarkable student speakers. Mr. Brocker, Dr. Singla, trustees, faculty, staff, parents, extended family, and friends. A great deal has changed since the class of 2022 first arrived at our Polytechnic Upper School campus 4 years ago. They entered as most ninth graders do, with the initial aim to just get their feet under them, while also remaining optimistic about all the possibilities that lay ahead. They gathered on the ninth grade patio and spoke with their classmates about the adventures ahead on their outdoor education trips, wondered aloud what clubs they wanted to join, and they debated the sports to which they would commit. Back then, the class of 2022 made an immediate impression on a certain AP US history teacher. The first Model United Nations Club meeting that fall was flooded with eager and curious ninth graders. They were seeking the chance to travel to as many conferences as possible. That teacher, yes, yours truly, tried to temper their expectations a bit, but this class was eager and thirsty for learning opportunities. By the end of their first year, they had racked up award after award, including those usually reserved for more experienced upper-class competitors. This left me so hopeful at the possibilities to come. During their ninth grade year, members of this graduating class also competed in track and field, soccer, and basketball, among other sports. They backpacked in Escalante, sea kayaked in Catalina, and fly fished and mountain biked in Mammoth, all as part of our outdoor education program. They also joined the cast and crew of the upper school musical The Little Mermaid, and so helped us inaugurate the newly remodeled Garland Theater. With their burgeoning talents and a new balcony in place, it seemed like record crowds were on the horizon for this class, along with countless more activities and accomplishments. However, midway through their sophomore year, the world showed it had other ideas. In early 2020, they and we were all forced to shift focus. No longer were we imagining the possibilities and changes that could emerge from this new generation of leaders. Instead, we were working with experts and officials to do all we could to protect the health of our Poly community, while also ensuring a continued commitment to our students' education and well-being. As the pandemic persisted long past our initial expectations, we felt an understandable desire for some sense of normalcy. We began to determine and implement the work that would bring us back to the world that had been. During this chaotic time, all of us who care about our school, teachers, parents, support staff, rightfully were concerned about this class and their fellow students. How would they respond to circumstances beyond their control? How would they grapple with a public health crisis they had no part in creating? Would they be deprived of long-valued traditions and rites of passage? We tried in every way we knew to get things back to normal, but despite our efforts, the tides of our times would not be denied. The world changed, much was lost, and the pain of that loss is real. Yet, through it all, we have emerged undeterred. We will never go back to the time prior to the pandemic, and I don't think this class wants to. Instead, they have and will lead us to explore what can be, a world better than what was. Over these past 4 years, I have witnessed the class always working for change and never satisfied with the status quo. They are intent on imagining a new future for all of us to inhabit. The class of 2022 has already started navigating a new path, one that is built upon the values learned during their time here at Polytechnic School: kindness, generosity, curiosity, inclusivity, and integrity. Let me share with you what my colleagues and I have seen in these remarkable students. Despite the fact for over a year they were taken away from the normal rhythms of a regular school day and asked to Zoom, they never let this affect their work ethic. Their appetite for learning never waned, nor did their commitment to one another and our Poly community. They created and took part in new organizations like the Student Leaders in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council and Student Community Engagement Council, and they ensured these organizations thrived during trying times. They took the skills developed in the classroom to call for improvements in the broader world. One such example is the publishing of an article detailing the history behind Confederate monuments and arguing for their removal. This class built connections with fellow students around the world as they participated in everything from story exchanges to student dialogue workshops. These activities allowed them to span nations and continents virtually. They developed online galleries of their artwork and played music on Zoom for our elderly neighbors who could not safely leave home because of COVID-19. In short, they adapted and did remarkable things during that time. Once we returned to full in-person classes, the class of 2022 really hit their stride. They challenged us to be better and do more by spearheading the effort to institute the Tongva Land Acknowledgement you heard today that recognizes and respects the original stewards of the land upon which Poly stands. They facilitated a discussion with Professors Cornell West and Robert George about how we can truly hear one another in order to bridge ideological divides. They asked us to rethink outdated traditions and create a more considerate, inclusive, and welcoming community. Now, they join us here on this field at this graduating ceremony to claim their place as emerging leaders in the complex society in which we live. They will help us to fully enact the words embedded in our mission and vision. They are strongly committed to a just, compassionate, and peaceful world. These years have built within them resilience and ingenuity. Equally remarkable is that they have kept the hope they first exhibited back in the fall of 2018. I believe that these experiences and the character they have developed will empower them to become a generation that will transform our future. It is for all these reasons and more that I proudly present to you the Polytechnic School Class of 2022. Class of 2022, it's time. As I call your name, please come forward to receive your diplomas. Oscar Bortz. Trevor Sataru Shin. Theodore Dimitriades. Catherine Rose Bryant. Margaret Lynch Sweeney. Tovey Hamilton Grossman Portnow. Jacob Webb Schuster. Cormac Quinn Murin. Taryn Elizabeth Chadwick. Vanessa Sophia Christopoulos. August Henry Zander. Dominic Leon Philip King. Audrey Cho. Opal Hetherington. Willa Fine Hawthorne. Matthias Lister Olson. Lillian Kim Keating. Shizalem Uzomaka Abago. John Harden Marion Sims. Conferring their diploma is parent Laura Marion, faculty member. Duncan Alexander McPherson. Caroline Hughes Patterson. Alexander Nathan Shea. Annika Sophia Nelson. Ethan Bowling Shan. Jackson Jacob Kalichman. Sarah Elise Burke. Liam Christopher Yen. Conferring their diploma is parent John Yen, Director of Technology. Nathaniel William Quinones. Parker Olivia Chambers. Ella Rose McDonald. Conferring their diploma is grandparent Judy McDonald, trustee. Robert Castro. Edward Peter Conjoyan III. Elia Emery Mint.
Love you too, Mom!
Charlotte Marion Hart. Maxime Alexander Alsuviev. Conferring their diploma is grandparent Alan Schaefer, faculty member. Grayson Yoshida Gooden. Anna Elizabeth McConnell. Zachary Rowan Hicks. Henry Houston Horn. Rojan Maytal Naimi. Andrew Holmes DeShane. Bianca Florencia Ramirez. Blake Keikoa Pastron. Derek James Foker. Jason Archer Mayo. Aline Kalinjian. Alicia Zhang. Jonathan Popovich Fink. Kayla Chu. Leo Alexander Smith. Colin Maxwell McLeod. Ikenna Obiechena Abago. Catherine Holland Drum. Melissa Luis. Robert Boyd, Marion Sims. Conferring their diploma is parent Laura Marion, faculty member. Jackson Adkins. Alina Riswan Body. Carmela Vargas von Bremen. Conferring their diploma is parent Marcella von Bremen, faculty member. Martin Furbo Ladikar. Michael Jack Williamson. Maya Redmond Kenny. Conferring their diploma is parent Margaret Kenny, faculty member. Eleanor Lee Veach. Griffin Ronald Schmoke. Conferring their diploma is parent Christopher Schmoke, Dean of Students. Andres Joaquin Lizardo. Ava Carlisle Liversidge. Andrew Jason Thane. Jacqueline Margaret Sabag. Conferring their diploma is parent Maggie Sabag, trustee. Kai Robert Schultz. Braden William Beggs. Nina Shiraz Turner. Sydney Aileen Persad. Alejandro Seva. Conferring their diploma is Karen Kristen Seva, trustee. William Hong-Sing Wang. Eleanor Marie Pancake Fay. Conferring their diploma is parent Jonathan Fay, Director of Poly Summer and Extended Programs and faculty member. Charlotte Marie Alvak. Elizabeth Rose Conjoyan. Theodore Henry Smith Marks. Brandon Hikaru Takahashi. Ella Grace Wu Ansiping. Conferring their diploma is parent Lisa Wu, Director of Enrollment and Communications. Maso Ortega. Ethan Troy Abel. Zachary William Jessner. Samuel Birchfield Howell. Mikkel Joseph Roan Collins. Lola Lorraine Valenti Roberts. Conferring their diploma is parent Courtney Valenti, trustee. Elizabeth Sophie Yoon. Megan Ha. Francesca Jiaoming Li. Colin Matthews. Congratulations, class of 2022.
So to stand. Musicians, please take your spots. Hold on a second. Oh, you're the musicians. Graduates, on your way out, you can pick up leis that were generously donated by the class of 22 room parents. Please return your graduation robes to the gym. And thank you again for joining us this fabulous evening to the class of 2022. When they start, you start. Who's going first? Who's going first? You don't process it. You can stay right here. Live mic, live mic. Talk amongst yourselves.
Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and I think of you. Caught up in circles, confusion is nothing new. Flashback, warm nights, left behind. Suitcase of memories, time after sometimes you You say, go slow. I fall behind. I fall behind. The second hand unwind. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting. Time after time. Secrets stolen from deep inside. From deep inside. The drum beats out of time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. You say, go slow. I fall behind. I fall behind. The second hand unwind. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting. Time after time. Time after time. Time after time. Time after time.
Want to sing? Do something. Do a couple numbers.
Yeah.
There you go.